Gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and man, I really appreciate you guys making a little time to check the video out. And today we're going to have a commentary. I'm going to give you my opinion on Dave Mercer's interview with Seth Feider that he did. I just saw it this morning, and I found it extremely interesting. A couple things that Seth said, we're going to talk about it, and I think you guys might find it interesting as well. So before we get started, guys, just want to remind you we're running out of time. March 31st is the last day of our solar bat sale here. If you buy a pair of my signature series Randy Blaukat 2 solar bats, you get them at 25% off. And then if you buy a pair, they give you a promo code to get 50% off anything on the Solar Bat website. So I'll put that link in the description if you guys are interested in checking that out. Much appreciated. Okay, guys, this was a really an awesome interview. I really enjoyed it. You know, Dave Mercer does a great job interviewing different pros, and he asks a lot of really good questions. And so this one was with Seth Feider, and I don't know Seth. I mean, I know who he is, just like you guys do. I've never had a chance. We sort of never crossed paths on the timing of our tour level fishing. But man, I really like the guy. I respect him a lot. He's an incredible angler. I just really like his vibe and the genuine personality that he has. And anyway, Dave Mercer has a sort of a tradition. He seems to always ask the pros their opinion on forward-facing sonar, live scope, and that type of stuff. And he asked Seth the same thing. And Seth's comments about forward-facing sonar were probably the most genuine and realistic viewpoint on it that I've heard any pro talk about out there. If you guys will have to watch the interview. I'll put the link in the description if you guys want to check it out. But from what I got from Seth talking about forward-facing sonar, it's like he didn't really like it. He wasn't like a big fan of it, but he acknowledged the fact that it's here to stay, or he thought it was here to stay. I'll talk about that here in a second. But he said if you don't learn it, you can't compete. It's like it's impossible to compete in today's tour level fishing without incorporating forward-facing sonar. And he said it was one of the weaker aspects of his game, that he needs to step it up. But he made a comment that I really respected, and I think a lot of people can relate to. He said, you know, I miss the days of 1995 when you could run up the river and throw a black and blue jig and catch them. I think a lot of people share Seth Feider's viewpoint on the fact that they don't, even pros now, that they don't like forward-facing sonar. They don't like to have to mess with it, but they have to. They don't have any choice. They've been forced by the tournament organizations to have to adopt it into their way of thinking. So the point that I want to make on that is the way that Seth covered this thing, it was exactly right on. I mean, I really felt that is the feeling of the majority of pros out there. I think there is a handful of them that they become so reliant on it that they just love it and it's a crutch, and they're video gamers and all that. But most people would rather pick up a buzzbait and go down the bank and see a 5-pounder flush it than getting out there and just staring at that screen. So the point I want to make on this is one of the things that I wish I could have been in on that conversation, because Seth was basically conceding to the fact that it's here to stay and you have to learn it. That is one thing that needs to be pushed back against, because it doesn't have to be here to stay, guys. I can promise you, if everybody would organize and let their voices be heard, something could change with that. Something could change with forward-facing sonar to where anglers did not have to use it. And I've always made the sort of like the proposal out there that tournament organizations, it can be a win-win here. They can allow forward-facing sonar in the tournaments, which I don't agree, in practice. But in the tournament competition, you cannot use forward-facing sonar. You can in practice, but not in the tournament. That way, the tournament organizations are still getting fed money by the electronic companies. Everybody's still buying the live scope and that stuff. But at the same time, you're maintaining some type of integrity and purity to the sport during the actual competition. Because make no mistake about it, guys, this may piss some people off when I say it, but I really believe it. I do not consider tournaments that get won with live scope as legitimate wins. I think they need to have an asterisk by them. And the reason I say that is it's not like down imaging and side imaging. When you can see a fish in live time, a real lifetime action. You can throw your bait out there, you can see the fish react to that bait, and you can manipulate that bait in accordance to how that fish is moving on that bait. That crosses the line right there. And I simply, and you know, all these people out there, that every single tournament's the same way. Oh, if it wouldn't been for my active target or my live scope, I wouldn't have won this tournament. You're exactly right. You wouldn't have won that tournament without that aid and that crutch of that technology. So it's the same with the asterisk that goes past, you know, when somebody, you know, sets a record in Major League Baseball in 162 season, there's an asterisk that doesn't apply to the 154 season that we had forever on there. It should be the same way in bass fishing. You win a tournament with forward-facing sonar, there's an asterisk next to that win. And so anyway, the point of the matter is the message I want to leave on this is that anglers don't have to have this sense of powerlessness that I felt that Seth had a little bit. It's like, God, I really don't want to learn this stuff. I really don't want to have to do this, but I've got to do this because I can't stay in the sport if I don't. Guys, the reality of it, unless you're John Cox, and John Cox is a freak of nature, is an exception because he's just on a different level. And unless you're like John Cox, if you don't master forward-facing sonar, you're not going to stay in this game. You're not. And that's sad. That's a sad, depressing reality that we find ourselves in, that's completely, again, motivated by money. I'll stand behind that again. The only reason forward-facing sonar is a thing in our fishing today is because of money. Somebody comes out there with 5 times as much money and says, I'm going to do this, but we're not going to allow forward-facing sonar in the tournaments. You're not going to see forward-facing in the sonar in the tournaments. Make no mistake about it. This is about money. It's not about doing the right thing. It's not about doing something to improve the sport of our fishing and the sustainability. It's not. So anyway, the interview, guys, check it out in there. I just thought that Seth had a very, he had the most realistic portrayal of the scenario forward-facing sonar that I've ever seen. I really enjoyed his perspective. I respected his point of view on there. And that's the reality we find ourselves in, but it does not have to be the reality that we find ourselves in moving forward. You know, we talk about this a lot on the channel. There's a bigger movement all the time to ban forward-facing sonar. Like I said, I get my inbox filled up with bass clubs presidents that are banning it. Tournament organizations are popping up banning it. You've got saltwater tournaments banning it. You've got different species tournaments banning it. So hopefully at least one day we're going to get to the point where you can have the best of both worlds in some people's mind, allowed in practice, do not allow it in the tournament, and the crappie guys and all those people can continue to decimate the fisheries if they choose to use it out there, because that is what's going to happen over the next 10 years or so. So anyway, check it out, guys. Think you'll like it. Talk later.